Abstract acrylic painting with texture can be quite intimidating at first. In this video, we're going to go over 4 different texture pastes that you can look into getting and what their effects are. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. To start off with, there are 2 different types of textures in painting. There's the type of texture of visual texture, where you're looking at an object and it looks either fuzzy, soft, hard, so on and so forth. And then there's the actual physical texture, which is what we're talking about today, the actual tactile and physical texture left on the surface of the canvas by the paint or medium that you're using. In today's case, we're going to be looking at 4 different texture pastes that you can purchase at dickblick.com. I'll go ahead and leave some links in the description below. And ultimately, we're just going to be looking at the different effects that you can get with them without paint. Just in case it's your first time here, welcome to the Art with Mark YouTube channel. I'm Mark, and here I'm learning to create, market, and sell art, and I want to share everything that I learned with you. Let's go ahead and jump into that demonstration. First up, we have crackle paste. Then we have natural sand. We also have blended fibers and ceramic stucco. Note to the observer, water is not a texture. Okay, and here we have a small 5x7 canvas, which we're going to start with the crackle paste. I've got the canvas divided off into 2 sections, as you can obviously see. I don't think you really need me to tell you what you can see with your own 2 eyes. But alright, here we go with the crackle paste. Look at that. Kind of looks like icing. Do not eat. Doesn't taste good, I tried it. Alright, so with the crackle paste, one thing to think about is how many cracks or how big do you want the cracks to be. The more cracks you want, or the bigger you want the cracks to be, the thicker you want to lay the paste on. I've only used it a few times, but in my experience, you won't get a whole lot of cracks or features with a thin layer. So definitely the thicker, the better. Next, we have the natural sand. Now, I'm curious to see, because looking at how it turned out dry, I was wondering how much I actually put on it. I thought I put a generous amount. Yeah, see, that might not be enough. It's really misleading, because the way that it looks when you're putting it on looks nothing like what it looks like when it dries, which we'll show you in just a second here. I'll show you. Me, myself, and I. We as in you and I will look at it. Alright, so another thing to think about is whether you want to apply the paint after you put the texture on. I would actually recommend mixing your paint in with the texture paste in most cases. I mean, it depends on what you want to use it for. If you're just going abstract, it may not matter that much, but ultimately I find it's difficult if you, let's say you have a painted background and then you apply some of this texture on top of it, you're working on some sort of abstract piece and you didn't mix in paint with the texture. Now you have to come back over and paint over the texture, and it's not really ideal for getting great results. So even when you're working abstract, you might want to consider mixing the paint in with the texture. Alright, so here you see me trying to get some textures out of the way that I'm applying it on with the palette knife. That's another thing to consider is, what sort of texture do you want to leave in the paste as you're applying it. This last one is the ceramic stucco. This one actually is probably one of my favorites in my collection thus far. I don't know why. There's something about the results it gets. But yeah, it's nice and easy to work with. And you can get that sort of stucco texture feel if you're looking for that. With the rest of these, it's not so much, it doesn't make too much of a difference how thick you apply it on. It's not like with the crackle paste where you have to apply it in a particular thickness to get a particular effect. I don't know, I guess that really depends on one's experience with working with the paste and the thickness of the layer and the kind of texture you're looking to get. So now that we have all of our texture paste laid out on the canvas, we're going to give that a little bit of time to dry. It takes about 24 to 48 hours to properly cure, especially with the crackle paste. You'll notice the longer you wait, the more cracks it ends up getting in it. So let's go ahead and take a look at those results. Here we are looking at our crackle paste first and foremost, and as you can see, since we did apply it nice and thick, we got a lot of cracks in there. Kind of reminds me a little bit of reptile skin or the skin of some kind of tough animal, maybe like a rhino or something like that. And then we have the natural sand. As you can see here, this is what I was talking about before. When you apply it, it's a thick white paste, but it's dried rather transparently. Has somewhat of a smooth feel to it, but when you actually mix it with color, the results vary. Then moving on to the blended fibers, this actually has a much more textured finish to it. It is not quite as hard as you would expect. There's that piece right there hanging up on the left side. If you look, that's actually rather flexible when I push on it. And then finally, the ceramic stucco. As you can see, it has a very wall-like finish to it. It does give you that texture wall feel, and it does dry pretty stiff. So if you're looking for that hard, porous texture, that's definitely something you might want to try adding to your toolkit. And that was 4 different texture pastes that you could try adding to your collection and experimenting with. And there's so many other textures to try. We didn't even try to actually paint it, so I mean, I could do a whole nother video on all 4 of these textures, showing what they look like on a painted background, what they look like when they're mixed in with paint and then thrown onto a painted background, what they look like when you apply it dry and then apply paint. There's so many different ways to experiment. We're just getting started here. So of the 4 texture pastes shown in this video today, which one do you think you might want to try yourself? Put it down in the comments below. If you have any requests or recommendations of any textures you want to see me try in a future video, I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Definitely put that down in the comments below too. And if you're looking for any other abstract painting techniques to try, go ahead and check out this video right here.